bring it back, 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 bring it back.
Hello and welcome to NRL Rewind's 2011 Grand Final preview. With the big game between the Manly Sea Eagles and New Zealand Warriors only 4 days away, it's time we sat back and had a look at just how these two sides got to be where they are today. A few key matchups, key statistics, and ultimately a good long look to try and determine who is going to be hoisting the Telstra Premiership Trophy at the end of the day. So no better place to start than by having a look at the two sides that will be taking the field on Sunday. For the Sea Eagles, Brett Stewart will start at fullback with Michael Robertson and Will Hopewadi on the wing. Jamie Lyon will captain the side in the centres with his partner Steve Matai. Kieran Foran and Daly Cherry-Evans will stay as rock solid as they've been all season in the halves. Joe Nullarbau and Brent Kite will be the starting front rowers, Matt Ballin at hooker, Anthony Watmoe, Tony Williams and the returning Glenn Stewart form the back row, while the extended interchange bench for the Sea Eagles is Shane Rodney, Jamie Buhrer, Vic Morrow, George Rose, Darcy Lussick and Tim Robinson. For the Warriors, their side remains unchanged from the team that surprised the Melbourne Storm last week. Kevin Locke at fullback, Bill Tupou and Manu Vatuvei on the wings, Lewis Brown and Kristen Inu in the centres, James Maloney and Sean Johnson are the halves, Sam Rapira and Jacob Lillyman up front with Aaron Jeremiah, while Feleti Mateo, Simon Mannering and Michael Luck are the back rowers. Their interchange bench, Lance Hohaya, who plays his final game in the NRL, Russell Packer, Ben Matalino, Elijah Taylor, and Sam Rapira is the only change to the squad, brought in as 18th man. So the most obvious thing to look at first would be the ways in which both teams travelled to get to this point, to get to the grand final. Manly, of course, were a picture of consistency throughout the entire season, finishing second just behind the Melbourne Storm, with the best attacking record in the league and the second best defensive and points differential records in the NRL. The Warriors had a few more ups and downs throughout the year, but finishing with the sixth best attack, defence and points differential, but of course playing their very best when it counted after a shocking display in the first week of the finals, going down 40-10 against the Broncos before bouncing back to eliminate the West Tigers and then of course last week the Melbourne Storm. The other factor that has to be considered is the amount of travel that the Warriors have done in recent weeks, which can't really be underestimated. Of course, having to travel away to play the Broncos, the Tigers and the Storm, and now again to head back to New South Wales to play in the grand final. Whether or not this has any lasting effect on the players or an effect that will only show itself in the grand final, only time will tell. I don't think it will be that big a factor. These are very professional players nowadays, but it is something that just lingers in the back of the mind when you look at everything involved with the match. As far as experience goes, the edge most definitely goes to the Sea Eagles. The Warriors have a grand total of 3 grand final matches experience with them. Jamie Lyon for the Sea Eagles handles that on his own, of course, having played the losing grand final in 2001 as a member of the Parramatta Eels before appearing in Manly's 2007 and victorious 2008 grand finals. You have 8 surviving players in the Manly side from that victorious 2008 side, as well as Shane Rodney and Joe Nullarbau, who both won premierships with the Penrith Panthers in 2003. So as far as big game experience, definitely Manly has a considerable advantage there. For the Warriors, Kristen Inu and Feleti Mateo both took part in Parramatta's 2009 grand final loss to Melbourne, while Lance Hohaya, who, as I mentioned earlier, plays his final game in the NRL before heading over to the English Super League, is the only surviving Warrior from their losing 2002 grand final appearance against the Sydney Roosters. The battle that's going to go a long way to determining who wins this match will be the battle of the halves, and more specifically not only the halves combinations of either side, but the individual duel between the two number 7s, Daly Cherry-Evans for the Sea Eagles and Sean Johnson for the Warriors. And when you look at these two, apart from being exceptionally young and both in their rookie seasons, that's just about where their similarities end as far as looking at them as individuals. Shaun Johnson has played 15 games in the top grade. He's been in and out of the side a little bit in the earlier part of the season before cementing his spot toward the back end of the regular season and then the finals, where he has absolutely excelled and really put himself on the radar as a star of the future. Daly Cherry Evans, of course, Rookie of the Year this year, also has played in every match for the Sea Eagles since round 1 this year and has been rock solid to the point where it's been easy to forget that he is in his rookie season. His kicking game is absolutely sublime. He never looks rushed, and as I've mentioned in a previous episode, he looks to be one of the hardest halfbacks for his size to tackle in the history of the NRL when you look at the number of times that he's able to beat the first attempted tackle. Both Cherry Evans and Johnson play with a calmness and an awareness of their surroundings that belies the fact that they are rookie players, and whoever manages to keep their head about them the best on the biggest stage in the game will definitely have a major say in whether or not their team lifts the trophy at the end of the day. Don't expect the 2 5/8s to be shrinking violets on the grand final stage either, with James Maloney and Kieran Foran both having absolutely outstanding seasons. They can both produce plays that can take the game away from the opposition. Maloney has the added responsibility, of course, of the Warriors of being their goal kicker. Both men are definitely not scared of taking on the line, particularly when their side's deep in attack. Look for them to have a big influence and to contribute solidly to the highlight reel. Watching the forward packs of these two sides go up against each other is going to be just about worth the price of admission alone. When you look at Manly, they were expected to struggle up the middle as soon as co-captain Jason King went down with this season-ending pectoral injury in the closing rounds of the regular season. But it's been a surprise and a delight to Manly fans to see Joe Nullival step into the breach. He was never known as a front rower during his most successful part of his career, but he's reinvented himself in Manly's hour of need and has been absolutely stellar, throwing his body in 100% every single week, coming off second best sometimes, but he's managed to front up each and every week and be one of Manly's top contributors. He is going to be up for another massive game. You've also got to look at your more experienced go-forward men like Brent Kite, who are going to be really charged with the task of keeping a very, very large and very confident Warriors pack at bay. Of course, their biggest weapon in the Warriors pack is undoubtedly Felipe Mateo, who leads the NRL with over 80 offloads so far this season. Shutting him down is going to be absolutely key. The big thing to keep an eye on is going to be the Warriors' front row rotation, with Ben Matalino, Sam Rapira, Jacob Lillyman, and Russell Packer, all genuinely starting quality front rowers. So Manly are really going to have to be on their game to stop that go forward, to stop the likes of Shaun Johnson, James Maloney, and Kevin Locke having too much open space where they can create and hurt Manly on the scoreboard. It's not usually one of the first things considered, but the interchange bench can go a long way to influencing the result of an important match. As far as these two teams, they've both got incredibly strong benches, and I think watching the way the game changes when these interchange players are injected into the game will be of great interest. Looking at the interchange benches for both sides, you can see how well off they are health-wise, with quality clearly visible in both teams. The Sea Eagles have pushed Shane Rodney back to the bench, with Glenn Stewart coming back into the starting side. Now, Shane Rodney was one of the Sea Eagles' best forwards, especially around the time where Glenn Stewart had to accept his suspension for his part in the brawl with Adam Blair in round 25. So just seeing him back on the bench is a huge sign that the other forwards that are ahead of him must be in incredible form. Looking at the Warriors bench, Lance Hohaya is the name that stands out there. Of course, he was the starting fullback not only for the Warriors but for the New Zealand national side not so long ago. So that's an idea of the kind of quality that the Warriors have in reserve. Russell Packer has been a starting prop at various times throughout this season, and they'll lose nothing when he comes onto the field. Ben Matalino is really starting to show the sort of potential that he has on a more consistent basis. And Elijah Taylor is a young man to watch. But I think as far as Ivan Cleary is concerned, there's no real reason to change a winning formula, and he'll go into the match with the same 17 players who did the job against Melbourne Storm on Saturday. Now, one of the more intriguing individual battles is going to take place on the right-hand side for the Sea Eagles and the left-hand side for the Warriors. That will be the wing battle between William Hopewadi and Manu Vatuvei. Manu Vatuvei is effectively a front rower who can run like a winger, or as I like to call him, a tank with gold teeth. He can absolutely flatten most opponents, and if he gets on a roll and if his confidence is high early, he can be near impossible to stop. Manly have already come out and said that they're going to test his confidence early. There's a little bit of a question mark about how well he can handle the high ball in pressure situations, but if he gets the first one, he'll generally be pretty safe through most of the game. So Manly fans will be hoping that he has an early error in him, and his influence in the game will probably be tempered as a result if past results have been anything to go by. William Hopewadi has been an absolute revelation this year. New South Wales State of Origin player. He'll be departing the NRL for a 2-year Mormon mission at the end of this season, but he can do anything. He can show. He doesn't get fazed by the big occasion, doesn't seem to feel pressure. He'll do the job. That will be one of the key battles to watch throughout the game. On the other side of the field, we're going to have an equally enthralling battle between Steve Matai and Krishnan Inu. Now, Inu is more known for his prowess in attack, in particular in the air, and there's no doubt that Steve Matai has crafted a big reputation for his hard hitting in defence. On the other side of that, Krishnan Inu has often been criticised for his defence, and Steve Matai, because I think of his reputation of what he does in defence and being a big hitter, his attacking game, which has vastly improved over the last 2 seasons in particular, has really gone underrated. In many ways, what these players aren't as well known for could have more of an influence on the game than what they are well known for. If Krishnan Inu isn't on his game defensively, particularly with the fact that on that side of the field you have Tony Williams and Michael Robertson, if he's making incorrect reads in defence and doing that consistently, it could be a real feast on the left-hand side for the Manly attack. All in all, this promises to be an absolutely enthralling grand final of 2 teams with a very wide range of differences that should make for a particularly interesting match across a number of different positions and on a number of different levels. Ultimately, and I know I'm decked out in my Manly gear, of course I'm going to be predicting that Manly will win the grand final. I think they'll win it by between 6 and 12 points. They won't have it wrapped up too early. I think the Warriors really riding a wave of confidence at the moment, and they'll more than likely be right in the contest for the first hour. But I think Manly's experience and just the way they're able to not panic under pressure, they're very, very well drilled in that regard. They don't make silly mistakes. Keeping in mind that through the second half of the game against the Cowboys and the first 20 minutes against the Broncos, they scored 58 unanswered points. Scoring points is definitely not going to be a problem for the Sea Eagles. We know how good their online defence can be. I think the Warriors have it all in front of them. However, if any side's going to be able to come up with the big upset, it will be the Warriors. If they get a fast start, this could be anything. But I think Manly have enough tools at their disposal to win the game. I'm going to say Jamie Lyon will be the Clive Churchill medalist, and he's also my tip for first try scorer, which was something that I tipped exclusively on the NRL news site earlier today. But that'll be where I finish it off. Manly to win the 2011 Grand Final. Thank you so much for watching, as always. I'll do a Grand Final recap, of course, after the big game. It'll probably be up on Monday. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube account. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and just very quickly, thank you to everyone who's become a fan of NRL Rewind on Facebook. Over 115 fans of NRL Rewind on the Facebook page in this last week, so thank you very much. Keep spreading the word, and until then, take care and go Manly.